Hello, everybody. So I'm back again. I know it's been a minute, probably a week or so or something since I made my last video. As you probably know, if you've been watching any of my videos, I'm pretty new at this, but I'm just doing this so I can talk about Linux because I love Linux. I love Linux. I'm always talking about Linux. I'm always tinkering with my computers and stuff, um, installing different distros, messing with virtual machines, all that good stuff. Now, if you're new to Linux, then this video is specifically for you. So if you're a Linux user that's been using it forever, like me, then you may get a little bored, but I don't know. You might want to stick around just to see what I have to say. And then if you want to correct me or leave some comments, go ahead and do that down at the bottom. And and then maybe I'll make a video on that. So this video is basically, as I said, what you need to know about Linux if you're a new user. Okay. One thing you got to know is Linux is everywhere, everywhere. If you have an Android phone, you've been using Linux. Probably didn't even know it, right? If you're driving around a John Deere tractor out in the farm, well, most of the newer John Deere tractors, from what I understand, their consoles and their software that run the machine run on Linux. POS systems, POS systems in the stores, a lot of those run Linux to make them work. Uh, if you ever been on an airplane, you're watching the little TV that shows the movies and the commercials and announcements and that kind of stuff. It's very common for those systems to be using Linux. Matter of fact, I think most of them, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, use Linux. So you've been watching movies and stuff on Linux while you're in a plane and probably didn't even know it, right? Uh, they make refrigerators that run on Linux, like LG and Samsung. Not just the Korean brands, but a lot of different brands use Linux to run its software. You've got stuff like, uh, well, the big companies, Google, for example. Google servers are all running Linux. Okay. Chromebooks, which is made by the Google company, Chromebooks are actually a Linux computer. Now, the desktop environment on Chromebooks, in my opinion, kind of suck because you have to do everything online. You can save stuff to the computer, but it's kind of difficult to navigate to get that done, especially for somebody new to computers. It's just strange. I don't really like it, but those are on Linux and they're very popular right now, for just checking your email, watching videos, doing some messaging, things like that. Linux, right? Amazon. Amazon is a huge company. Chances are you've got a bunch of stuff in your house that you bought off of Amazon, just like I did, right? Because they have stuff for good prices and all that good stuff. Not going to get into all that, but the Amazon servers run on Linux. They're running Linux. I mean, you go to the store and you buy a computer, you're going to see a little section, like Best Buy, for example. You go to Best Buy, you're going to see a small section that uses or that displays Macintosh computers. Well, nobody says Macintosh anymore. Apple computers, right? You got the iMacs and the Mac Airs and all that stuff. And they're like $3,000 and $4,000 for the good stuff and everything. Expensive, right? And then you got a big old large section running Windows 11, right? You have your HPs and your Dells and your Lenovo's. Um, there's so many computer companies that install Windows on their computers and then they stick them in the stores and then we buy them. So that's why Windows and even Mac are so popular, especially Windows. Are so popular because they market their computers with software already on it. When we go to start buy a computer, the Macs cost too much. So you say, hey, I'm going to buy a Windows computer because it's $3,000 less because I can afford 1,000 and not 4,000 today. So let's go ahead and buy the Lenovo Yoga or whatever, right? Or the HP EliteBook or whatever you got. And what's it run? Windows. Okay, so that's why on personal computers, laptops, desktops, all that, that's why Windows is so much popular. And that's why people know about Windows. They go to work like I do. I have a daytime job. I know I should be like rich and famous doing these videos, right? But I got a day job, and all day long when I'm in the office, I use Windows 10. They haven't upgraded to Windows 11 because it costs so much to update the licenses. That's another thing is, and we'll talk about that in a minute as far as price and stuff like that. But another thing that you should know about Linux is there are over 600. I don't know what the exact number is, but there's way over 600 Linux distributions. Okay, so that's a distribution. If you don't know, that's basically when a group of Linux developers or enthusiasts get together and they get the Linux kernel, which is the heart and the brain of the system. They get that and they put all this other stuff and packages. And if you use Windows a lot, you're gonna refer to those as applications, software installers, things like that. And you get all these Linux apps and you put them together in a bundle and you give it a face called the desktop environment, and you put it on the internet for people to download, and they download and install on the computer, and that's a distribution. And it's a distribution also, and this is important, when people do this, and you can do updates because they have what's called a repository. So they got a server running Linux, of course, that has all this software, and they're constantly updating it. And when you do your updates, it gets that software from that repository. So that's what a distribution is. So some of the most popular ones, and you may have seen them on the internet or heard of them, maybe. If you're new, maybe not, I don't know. But Ubuntu is very, very popular. I'm not a big Ubuntu fan, but it does work really well. It's pretty stable. It's based on another distribution called Debian, which is a vanilla, like plain, older software. Anyway, that's another video right there. Linux Mint is another popular one. Pop! OS. You got Fedora, Arch, different kinds of Arch, because they branch off, and then these other communities will base their distro off of another distro. So you got like Manjaro based on Arch. You got Arco Linux based on Arch. You got Garuda based on Arch. You got man, there's so many distributions, not even funny. I can name a whole bunch of them. Back in the day, I used Mandrake, Red Hat, SUSE. And there's so many, Gentoo, Slackware, Slacks. I mean, there's so many different ones. I can go on forever. And there's so many videos out there on different distros. You can just type in Linux distributions on YouTube, and then they'll come up. So I don't need to waste your time here, but besides all the distributions, there are many different what we call desktop environments. So if you have a Windows computer, like you can see this one back here, I just have this got screensaver. Well, yeah, it's screensaver up right now. It's actually a YouTube video. It's called the Matrix Screensaver or something like that. Why? Because it's cool. Sorry about that, guys. But on this one, I'm running Fedora. And Fedora, on this computer right here, I have 3 different desktop environments installed. I have GNOME, I have KDE Plasma, and Cinnamon. Why? Because I'm crazy. I don't know. I like doing that stuff. So I installed Fedora 38 Beta, which came with the GNOME desktop. But I'm a KDE Plasma guy at heart, right? So I started twitching and stuff because I was having withdrawals from KDE. So I got into Terminal. If you don't know what a terminal is, if you ever seen on Windows when it's starting up and it's taking its time and you see these black windows pop up with words going across it and stuff, well, that's a kind of a terminal. Anyway, open one of those up, put some commands in, installed the other desktop environments. Installed KD Plasma. I installed Cinnamon because I like Cinnamon too. So on this computer back here, I use this, to watch movies and stuff, YouTube videos, things like that. And Linux Mint is very simple and easy to use, so I like using that because I don't need to do a whole lot on that computer except for watch stuff. So, for the most part, I use Linux Mint for that kind of thing. And plus, I've got like a 65-inch TV, and I'm running. What am I running on that? I'm actually running Fedora on that one. Anyway, whole other story. So, like I said, you got GNOME, Plasma, Cinnamon, you have Budgie, XFCE, a whole lot more different desktop environments. But those are probably the most popular ones. There's a distro called Elementary OS. You can look that up too. It's pretty nice. And they use a desktop called Pantheon. So that seems pretty cool. So if you're into Apple computers and you're switching over to Linux, then you might want to install something like Elementary because it uses Pantheon, which is based on it looks like a Mac computer. If you look at it, you're like, hey, is that Mac? Oh, wait a minute, it's a little different, but it's pretty similar. It's got the bar on top, it's got the dock on the bottom with the icons, and as you hover over them with the mouse, they kind of pop up and stuff. So if you're into that kind of thing, no matter what you're used to, there's something in Linux that mimics that, for lack of a better word, and it should make your life easy switching over. So Linux is also about freedom. So there's two kinds of freedom in Linux, the main ones anyway. Free as a no charge, because you can download and use Linux for free. It's you don't have to worry about a license. You don't have to worry about a key that you have to type in to activate it. So before you can actually be allowed to use your own computer and change the desktop theming and stuff like that, like Microsoft Windows. With Linux, it's your computer. With Linux, it's your computer. If you want to make it look like crap, it's your computer. If you want to make it look beautiful, it's your computer. So whatever you want to do with it, it's your computer, because that's what Linux is about, okay? So it's not like Microsoft pushing ads and trying to make you buy antivirus software and games and pushing Microsoft Office 365 on you for, $300 or what the hell it costs these days. You don't have to even. Here's the thing, guys. So for most Microsoft apps, there are Linux alternatives that are just as good, or a lot of times, many times, even better. So instead of Microsoft Office, you might use something like LibreOffice, which is awesome. My favorite Office suite on Linux is OnlyOffice. You could also use that on Mac and on Windows, but I use Linux. I use OnlyOffice because it works great. It's easy to use. It's very compatible with Microsoft Office. If you're into editing photos or drawing and things like that on the computer, instead of using Adobe Photoshop, you can download a program called GIMP, G-I-M-P, GIMP. Download that sucker. It's free. And okay, it's got it's got so many different options. It's very powerful. And if you compare it next to Photoshop, yeah, it's not going to have as many, but it has a lot. It has everything you need to do some stuff. So these thumbnails I do for my videos, they're all done on GIMP, things like that. Edit photos, all that stuff. If you're into gaming, you need to know that Steam and other software run on Linux too. So you can they actually make the Steam app where you can download it from your software store on whatever distro you're on and install it on Linux. And if you have a good gaming computer, a good powerful computer, it's going to run nice, And yeah, you might find a game here and there that won't run on Linux because it's only for Windows, but that's because the company only made it for Windows. But that's just how it is, I guess. But you can run so much gaming software on on Linux. So that's a cool thing too. Matter of fact, Steam Deck. If you ever heard about the Steam Deck, it's a small little contraption like this where you can play games. You can even plug it into a monitor and play it on a big screen. Play your Steam games. Well, Steam Deck is actually a Linux computer. It runs on Linux. I believe it's based on a flavor Arch Linux. And yeah, you're using Linux if you use that sucker. So it's also about choice. Like I said, it's your computer. It's yours. You don't have to pay for a license. You don't need a product key. You don't need to activate your system to personalize your desktop, which is just stupid. Because here's the thing, guys, if you buy a computer, that's your computer, right? Well, sometimes it is, because if you buy a computer with Windows on it, or even Apple Macintosh, you know, OS 27 or what the hell they're on these days, um, there's some things that they govern. There's things that they don't let you do, and they control that. With Linux, you don't have that. You can do whatever the hell you want on it. Excuse my language there, but you can do whatever the heck you want to do on Linux. You want to change something, change it. You want to wipe it out and reinstall a different flavor of Linux, do it. Why? Because it's your computer. You paid for the computer. Doesn't it make sense that you would be able to use it the way you want to use it, right? So anyway, just a few things I want to talk about. I'll go ahead and step away now and let you guys get back to your important things in life. But thanks for listening. If you want to subscribe, if you like the video, subscribe, please. If you don't, give it a thumbs down and tell me I suck and flip me the bird or something. That's fine. I love constructive criticism. That's what we'll call it, constructive criticism. So if I suck, just let me know. I'm okay with that. I just started doing this. I'm not looking to get famous and rich. That's not going to happen, but I just like talking about Linux. So here you go. So thanks for watching, and we will see y'all later.